Carl Sagan, the voice of the cosmos. Imagine standing beneath a sky so dark that you can see thousands of stars with your own eyes. You look up, and suddenly you realize something. Every star is a sun. Some may have planets. Some of those planets may have oceans. Some may even have life. And somewhere, on one tiny planet circling one ordinary star, a human being is standing beneath the night sky, asking the biggest question of all. Are we alone? For Carl Sagan, that question was more than a scientific puzzle. It was a lifelong calling. He wanted people to look at the universe and feel what he felt as a child, the overwhelming sense of wonder that comes when you realize how enormous the cosmos is, and how extraordinary it is that we are here at all. Long before millions of people knew his name, Carl Sagan was simply a curious boy growing up in Brooklyn, New York. He was born in 1934, during a time when the world was changing rapidly. Radios were becoming common. Airplanes were crossing oceans. Scientists were beginning to understand the structure of atoms, the nature of stars, and the enormous scale of the universe. But for young Carl, science was not just a collection of facts. It was an invitation. He loved books. He loved questions. And he was fascinated by the stars. As a child, he would visit libraries and ask questions about astronomy. He wanted to understand what those distant points of light really were. Then came a moment that would stay with him for the rest of his life. When Carl was still young, he was taken to the World's Fair in New York. There, surrounded by futuristic machines and visions of the future, he began to imagine what humanity might one day accomplish. The universe suddenly seemed larger than his neighborhood, larger than his city, larger than Earth itself. And Carl wanted to explore it. He eventually studied at the University of Chicago, where he immersed himself in astronomy, physics, biology, and other sciences. But he was never satisfied with learning only one subject. He wanted to connect everything. The stars. The planets. The origin of life. The evolution of humanity. The future of civilization. He understood that science was not a collection of isolated discoveries. It was one enormous story. And humanity was only beginning to read it. After completing his education, Sagan entered the world of scientific research. He became particularly interested in planets and planetary atmospheres. One of the places that fascinated him most was Venus. For a long time, scientists had imagined that Venus might be a warm, pleasant world with tropical conditions. But Sagan helped show that Venus was something very different. Its thick atmosphere traps heat through a powerful greenhouse effect, producing surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead. The discovery was a warning from another world. A planet's atmosphere could transform its climate. And suddenly, Venus was not just an interesting planet. It was a lesson. Sagan also studied Mars. At a time when some people still imagined that mysterious canals on the Martian surface might have been built by intelligent beings, Sagan approached the question differently. He wanted evidence. He wanted observation. He wanted science. Mars became one of his great interests, and he became deeply involved in the exploration of the planet through robotic spacecraft. He helped scientists think about what Mars might have been like in the distant past. Could it once have been warmer? Could it have had liquid water? Could life have existed there? The questions were enormous. But Sagan believed that asking them was part of what made us human. Then came one of the most extraordinary chapters of his career. Humanity was beginning to send spacecraft beyond Earth. The United States launched missions toward the planets, carrying cameras and scientific instruments into regions no human had ever seen. Sagan became involved with NASA's planetary missions, including the Mariner and Viking programs. The Viking landers eventually reached the surface of Mars in 1976. For the first time, human-made machines were operating on the surface of another planet. Sagan helped communicate the significance of these missions to the public. he understood something that many scientists struggled to express. A scientific discovery could be technically brilliant and still fail to inspire people if nobody understood why it mattered. Sagan became a bridge. He connected laboratories to living rooms. He connected scientific papers to human imagination. And eventually, he became one of the most recognizable science communicators in the world. But Sagan's most famous journey may have begun far from Earth. In the 1970s, NASA was preparing spacecraft that would travel farther than almost anything humanity had ever built. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 would explore the outer planets before continuing into interstellar space. Sagan was part of the team that helped create something extraordinary for these spacecraft. A message. A greeting from Earth. The golden record. The idea was simple and almost impossible at the same time. If an intelligent civilization ever discovered one of the Voyager spacecraft, what should humanity say? There was no guarantee anyone would ever find it. There was no guarantee that anyone would understand it. But Sagan believed it was worth trying. The record contains sounds and images representing life on Earth. Greetings in many human languages. Music. Natural sounds. Images of people, animals, landscapes, mathematics, science, and everyday life. It was a tiny time capsule carrying a portrait of humanity into the darkness. Think about that for a moment. A machine built by human hands was leaving the solar system. And attached to it was a message saying, in effect, we were here. Sagan understood the emotional power of that idea. He knew that the universe might be unimaginably large and humanity unimaginably small. But small did not mean meaningless. In fact, our smallness could make our existence even more precious. Sagan became increasingly interested in one of humanity's oldest questions. Is there life elsewhere in the universe? He believed the question deserved serious scientific investigation. Not because we should assume aliens exist, but because the universe is so vast that it would be foolish to stop asking. He helped advance scientific efforts to search for signs of intelligent life beyond Earth. He encouraged researchers to listen for possible signals from distant civilizations. At the same time, he warned people not to confuse scientific curiosity with belief. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. For Sagan, imagination was powerful. But imagination without evidence could become dangerous. This balance became one of the central themes of his life. Wonder, but also skepticism. Curiosity, but also discipline. Dream boldly, but test your ideas. And then came the television series that changed science communication forever. Cosmos, A Personal Voyage. When it first aired in 1980, millions of people watched Sagan travel across the universe from their living rooms. He stood inside a glowing cosmic landscape. He spoke about galaxies, planets, evolution, atoms, time, and the origins of life. But he did something even more important. He made science feel personal. He didn't speak as though the universe belonged only to professional scientists. He spoke as though it belonged to everyone. A child could watch. A teacher could watch. A person who had never opened a physics textbook could watch. And suddenly, enormous ideas became understandable. The universe was no longer a distant collection of equations. It became a story. A story of billions of years. A story of stars being born and dying. A story of planets forming. A story of chemistry becoming biology. A story of life evolving. And eventually, a story of creatures capable of looking into the night sky and asking where they came from. Sagan became famous for his calm voice and poetic descriptions of the cosmos. But beneath the poetry was serious science. He wanted people to understand how evidence worked. He wanted them to recognize pseudoscience. He wanted people to question claims that had no supporting evidence. He believed scientific thinking was not just useful in laboratories. It was essential for society. A population capable of evaluating evidence was better equipped to make decisions about its future. Sagan also became deeply concerned about humanity's ability to destroy itself. During the Cold War, the threat of nuclear war hung over the world. The United States and the Soviet Union possessed enormous nuclear arsenals. Sagan studied the possible atmospheric consequences of nuclear conflict and became a prominent voice warning about the dangers of nuclear war. His message was not simply political. It was planetary. We had developed technologies powerful enough to alter the future of civilization. But had our wisdom grown at the same speed as our technology? That question haunted him. Sagan believed humanity had reached a dangerous point. We possessed extraordinary scientific power. But we also possessed fear, hatred, ignorance, and the ability to destroy one another. Science could help us survive. But only if we used it responsibly. And perhaps this was why Sagan's fascination with the cosmos was always connected to his concern for Earth. The farther he looked into space, the more precious our planet seemed. That became especially clear when Voyager 1 turned its camera back toward Earth. At Sagan's suggestion, the spacecraft captured a distant image of our planet from the outer solar system. Earth appeared as a tiny point of light. A faint speck suspended in darkness. It became known as the pale blue dot. For Sagan, that image carried a profound message. Everything humanity had ever known was there. Every city. Every war. Every friendship. Every family. Every scientific discovery. Every poem. Every dream. Every human life. All of it existed on that tiny world. From the vastness of space, our divisions looked almost absurd. Borders disappeared. Political arguments disappeared. The scale of human civilization became almost impossible to see. What remained was a small, fragile planet. Sagan believed that recognizing our cosmic perspective could make us wiser. It could remind us that Earth is not merely where we live. It is our home. And we have nowhere else to go. Throughout his life, Sagan continued researching, teaching, writing, and speaking. He wrote books that introduced millions of people to astronomy and planetary science. He became a professor at Cornell University. He helped inspire generations of scientists. And he continued to defend the importance of scientific skepticism. But his story was not without difficulty. Sagan faced criticism from some scientists who believed he spent too much time communicating with the public. He faced personal challenges. He experienced periods of intense work and pressure. Yet he continued. Because he believed the public deserved to understand science. Not only because science was interesting. Because science affected the future of everyone. Climate. Nuclear weapons. Space exploration. Medicine. Technology. The environment. The future of civilization itself. In the final years of his life, Sagan's health declined. But his curiosity never disappeared. He continued writing and thinking about the universe. He continued asking questions. And he continued to express hope. Carl Sagan died in 1996 at the age of 62. He never saw some of the discoveries that would come in the decades after his death. He never saw the extraordinary images returned by modern space telescopes. He never witnessed the discovery of thousands of planets orbiting other stars. He never saw how far robotic exploration would travel. But his influence remained. His ideas continued to inspire scientists. His books continued to introduce young people to astronomy. His voice continued to echo through recordings and documentaries. And his central message remained as relevant as ever. We are part of something enormous. The universe is ancient. The cosmos is filled with billions of galaxies. Stars are born. Stars die. Planets form. Life evolves. And somewhere within this enormous cosmic story, we appeared. For a brief moment in the history of the universe, matter became capable of looking back at the stars. That matter became us. And perhaps that is the most beautiful part of Sagan's story. He never wanted people simply to memorize the names of planets or the distances between stars. He wanted them to feel connected to the universe. He wanted them to understand that the atoms inside our bodies were created in ancient stars. The calcium in our bones. The iron in our blood. The elements that make life possible. They were forged in cosmic history long before Earth existed. We are not visitors in the universe. We are made from it. We are, quite literally, part of the cosmos. So imagine that you are standing outside tonight. Look upward. Find the brightest stars. Some are hundreds or thousands of light years away. The light entering your eyes tonight began its journey long before you were born. Perhaps before your grandparents were born. Perhaps before your civilization looked anything like it does today. And yet that ancient light has traveled across unimaginable distances to reach you. For Carl Sagan, that was the ultimate invitation. Look up. Be curious. Ask questions. Do not be afraid of what you might discover. But do not believe something simply because you want it to be true. Search for evidence. Keep your sense of wonder. Protect the fragile world beneath your feet. And remember how extraordinary it is that we are here at all. Carl Sagan spent his life giving humanity a voice among the stars. He helped us see Mars not as a distant red dot, but as another world. He helped send a message from Earth into interstellar space. He helped millions understand the beauty of science. And he reminded us that the universe does not make us insignificant. It gives us perspective. Because perhaps the greatest question is not simply whether there is life somewhere beyond Earth. Perhaps the greatest question is what we will do with the life we have here. For now, the answer is still being written. And somewhere, far beyond our planet, the Voyager spacecraft continues its journey through the darkness, carrying a golden record filled with the sounds, images, and hopes of a young civilization. A tiny message from a tiny world. A message created by people who looked into the infinite darkness and dared to say, "We are here." And among the voices carried by that message is the legacy of a man who spent his life teaching us how to listen to the universe. His name was Carl Sagan. And his greatest lesson was simple. The cosmos is vast. Our time is short. So stay curious.